Hi everyone, Dr. Monty Lobb here, Executive Director of the Business Innovation Center, Professor of Government, and the Director of the Political Science Program. I want to welcome you to a new creation here at Ohio Christian University called 1948.com and Eureka Moments. 1948.com. If you look 8.com, if you search that, you'll find our website. 1948.com is called that because that's the year that Ohio Christian University was founded. But at 1948.com, what we have is a podcast and a bunch of blogs. And it's the blogs particularly that I really want to bring to your attention, because what I have is current and former students and alumni write blogs on various social issues from a Christian worldview. We're looking for blogs anywhere from 500 to 800 words. We'll edit that and put it up, and we put about 5 to 7 once a month. So again, we welcome current, past students, anyone who has a heart for the gospel, being salt and light in this culture. We would love to have a blog from you. And I also want to talk about Eureka Moments, our podcast on the 1948.com website. And so Eureka Moments is about a 45-minute to an hour look at different things that Jenna Wood, my co-host, many of you know Jenna, alumni here at Ohio Christian, also works with the School of Business, and then also with me in the Business Innovation Center. But what we do is we take a look at 3 different segments. The first is what we call Live, Love, and Lead, where we look at ideas that help a person live well, live better, love other people better, and to lead. And so right now we're looking at a document called Uncommon Sense. As a matter of fact, in a little bit, you're going to get a sneak preview of our next episode where we take a look at Uncommon Sense. So that's one segment. The second segment is what we call the Redemptive Praxis Initiative, where we take a look at 1 out of 18 different areas of society: education, healthcare, politics, the church, law, and different things that are going on in the culture in one of those institutions. And we take a look at it and see if it's really living out from a Christian worldview perspective, what it's doing. And then the third and final segment of Eureka Moments is what we call Recasting the American Condition. And so again, I'll take some kind of a theological idea, develop that, and then take a look and see how we are doing with that, whether it's people who are believers or even pre-believers with that idea. So Eureka Moments, again, a weekly podcast. You can find that at 1948.com or Spotify or iTunes. So again, this is just ideas and ways for us to talk to the community, to be salt and light, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Thanks for joining us. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Eureka Moments. I'm Dr. Monty Lobb, and I get to be the Executive Director of the Business Innovation Center, Professor of Government here at OCU, and also, they tell me, the Program Director for our Political Science Program. And I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Jenna Wood. Jenna is the glue that holds the School of Business together, the Business Innovation Center together, alumnus from here at OCU. I could go on and on. But Jenna, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here today and to record another episode. And I think we've got some good stuff for today. So I think we do.
We do. And we'll get started right away. In this first segment, we call Live, Love, and Lead. And what we've been doing for anyone who hasn't been able to join us, and this is the first time they're joining us, a quick overview. We're using a document called Uncommon Sense. Uncommon Sense is 20 character ethics written at a 10th grade level. It's a document that I've used for about 20 years in the state of Ohio, and then also in my consulting practice, really trying to help people play well together in the sandbox. And I love it because believers look at Uncommon Sense and they go, oh, that's the character of Christ. Pre-believers look at Uncommon Sense and they go, yeah, I had a coach. I had a Cub Scout leader, a Brownies leader, then they talked about this or they modeled this. And that's accurate on both accounts.
Yeah.
And so Uncommon Sense is a great document, nothing sacred about it, but it's a document I think that fits well in terms of how to live well, how to love others well, and how to lead well.
Absolutely. And it's been great to use here at OCU too. I think in a professional sense and also an academic sense, I've been able to incorporate this in classes, and I know you have as well, and it's received really well, and I think brings up great topics of conversation. Just even reading one, which we do every week, but it really challenges students to kind of think and process through living well, loving well, and leading well.
Yeah, I know you used it in Trailblazer Academy with some of our second semester freshmen. I've used it in my management and leadership class, and then also with the teachers' education department, and go over this with them when they invite me in every semester. But it's a great document because you really look at these character ethics in terms of a bullseye, a trajectory in terms of how a person ought to live. And not that we're going to be perfect, okay? No one's going to be perfect with these. But a person doesn't need to be paralyzed, but it ought to be something that stirs within us, hey, you know, I can be better at respect. I can be better at fidelity. I can be better at forgiveness. And so today we take a look at number 9, promise keeping and trustworthiness. You want to read that?
Absolutely. So, promise keeping and trustworthiness. High character people do not break their word with others. Because they prize interpersonal trust, they do not make promises lightly. They are candid in supplying relevant information, and they are diligent in fulfilling their commitments. They make every reasonable effort to fulfill the letter and the spirit of their promises. They tirelessly maintain a promised confidence. They do not interpret agreements in any unreasonably technical or legalistic manner in order to rationalize noncompliance or to justify escaping their promises. And the observable virtue is faithfulness.
Yeah, wow. A lot there, right?
Yeah.
You know, first thing that comes to my mind is let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Yeah.
And this, I think, is hard for people, particularly who want to please others.
Yes. Empath personality types. Yeah.
You know, I'm that way. Somebody wants you to do something, almost automatically I want to say yes before I've counted the cost, before I know what the schedule entails, before I've talked with my wife.
Yeah.
You know, and it's awfully hard then to dig yourself out and to go backward and say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. You do that a few times and you learn the hard way, but the sad thing is then people don't see you as trustworthy. You know, well, you promised me that you were going to do this. Yeah, I know I did, but I can't. And so part of building that relationship with folks is developing trust. And if a person's not trustworthy, if they're not keeping their promises, then how do you build any kind of relationship of stability or depth?
Right, and I also like that this mentions they try to fulfill the letter and the spirit of their promises.
Yeah.
I think often the people that we look to, that we trust and that we know that will come through, they don't just do it because out of obligation. You like the people that do it because their spirit and their heart is in it versus something that they feel like they're obligated to do. And the last sentence, I think, emphasizes that in a little bit different way because it says, you know, they don't view it in a legalistic manner. And I think that goes along with how your spirit is, because when you're doing something legalistically, it doesn't transpire as genuine to that person.
Yeah. Now, this translates very well to the work world. I talk with students, and I've talked with some recent high school graduates who've graduated from career centers, you know, electrician, plumbing, those kind of things. And I always say, you know, if you keep your promise, you know, you're going to get this job done a certain way, a certain time, for a certain amount of money. If you return phone calls, keep your promise, you're trustworthy, do a good job, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because so many professionals don't keep their promise. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They don't do it for the cost that they give you. They don't return phone calls. They don't do it in the time that they said they would do it in. And so you just that's like the new norm.
Right.
And it's accepted. Like, oh boy, you know, I'm dealing with this kind of a person again. But if you can do the opposite and do all these things properly in the right way, you won't need a website. You know, word of mouth will get around. This guy's the greatest mechanic. You know, she's the greatest interior decorator, you know, whatever,
Right.
because people want someone who's trustworthy.
I've witnessed that in my family's owned a business for over 30 years. And when they call, they request, you know, my family members specifically because they know them, they know that they can trust them, that they're going to get the job done right.
Right.
Another aspect I think of this is a lot of times if you're like our personalities, which I know we're really similar, and we like to please people, and sometimes we can overcommit. But I think in being honest with someone, like I have a prior commitment or I've already committed, I would love to do this, that's showing that you are a loyal, trustworthy person because you're honoring what you've committed to.
Right.
And I think that speaks volumes too. I think that sometimes people want to avoid that, like, well, I know I committed, but maybe I could. And sometimes there is room for flexibility, but I think being honest in that, and I know we've already touched on honesty as one of the the numbers on this of the characters, but I think that really transpires. All of these kind of touch each other, right?
Yes,
in some form or fashion. And some sound similar, but they're all scenario based and different traits that can really be lived out well when they're practiced together.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Janet. They do overlap. There's no doubt about that. I also like the component of the definition where it says, they tirelessly maintain a promised confidence. You know, having a secret, knowing something about somebody, it can be powerful. And, you know, we have oftentimes the power in our hands to, you know, do what we want with information. And when we can maintain a confidence, even if somebody hasn't told us to maintain the confidence, and we just don't exchange that information and for, you know, barter it for other information, or be a gossip basically, but protect that person's dignity, even if they haven't told us to do so. In part, you know, I have to do that, being an attorney. We have what we call attorney-client privileges, but I'd like to think that I would do that even without, you know, that kind of a legal vocational background. It's just the right way to treat people. And when somebody trusts us enough to bare their soul, to be that vulnerable, man, we need to protect that. And we need to be cautious and not think like, well, you know what, I wonder if it'd be okay to just share a little bit about this person. And sometimes we say, oh, I'm so concerned, I want people to pray for them.
Like the prayer request gossip.
Yeah.
You just need to pray for her because, you know, this situation's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And part of that, maybe subconscious, unspoken, unwritten promise with people is to use discernment and discretion as to what to share and what not to share. And if there's something definitely within us that kind of like puts up a big roadblock, we need to listen to that in terms of not sharing or not breaking a person's confidence. And so again, you know, we talk every week that there's a lot of pain involved because with character building, no pain, no gain. And so it does stretch us. It stretches our character. We are in a laboratory of life every day in terms of living these out, getting better at them. And so, you know, who better to be a model for this than folks who say they're believers?
Right.
I mean, this is the way Christ would act. And even for our pre-believing friends, they have seen people in their lives who model this in a way that's appealing.
Absolutely, yeah. And another aspect I think is really neat about this is they don't take promises lightly. And so I think that doesn't mean that you have to make promises to everyone. I think on the flip side, that's like, I can't promise you this, so I'm going to be honest and transparent because if it's certain information from a legal standpoint or, you know, things like that, having that discernment of whether it's something that you can make a promise to or you cannot.
Right.
And I think sometimes people think that just because they're approached with information or they're approached with something, they automatically have to be like, oh, I promise I'll keep this or I'll make a promise. When in reality, that's a boundary that you have to learn to keep as well.
Yes. And you know, I'm okay even, as the definition says here, they're candid in supplying relevant information. So, for example, if you say, hey, can you do this, can you do that? And I say, well, I'd like to, but I've got this only window of opportunity, and I can't control this. I'm told that I'm going to be done by such and such a time. And I think if I do complete it at this time, then I can get over here and help you or do what you want me to do. That's supplying relevant information. So that then if for some reason I can't, it doesn't come as a surprise, a shock, or a disappointment to you.
Right.
Because I've shared all that. I've been that candid with you. And a lot of times we short circuit that process. We take a shortcut in our mind saying, oh, they don't need to know that. I'm sure it's going to work out. I'll assume that it's going to be okay. And then it creates havoc for us down the road.
Right.
Because we just didn't do that part of it.
Sure.
So there's so much with promise keeping and trustworthiness that we can learn from. Well, let's take a break and let's talk about our lead sponsor, Roads of Hope, for a second.
Thank you, Dr. Lab and Jenna, for joining us for Reunion 2021. And we are so excited for 1948 and your podcast, Eureka Moments. Our next reunion session will be our all-class reunion. The all-class reunion is a time for all of our alumni to meet and hear about the Alumni Association and the benefits of being a member. This next session will be held through webcast. The link to the meeting can be found in the Whova app under the next section. We hope to see you there.